I used to believe that a mother's love was the safest place in the world. That no matter how hard life became, the bond between a mother and her child could never be broken. I built my entire life around that belief. Around him. My son was my pride, my purpose, my reason for waking up every morning. When the house felt too quiet and the world felt too heavy, from the moment I held him for the first time, I promised myself that he would never feel the kind of struggle I did. I kept that promise. I worked 2 jobs when he was young, sometimes 3. I skipped meals so he could eat better. I wore the same old clothes year after year so he could have new shoes for school. I learned how to stretch every dollar, how to turn little into enough, how to survive without complaining. And through it all, I told myself it was worth it. Because he was kind, because he was grateful, because he was my son. When his father left, I became everything: mother, father, protector, provider. I attended every school meeting, every parent-teacher conference. I sat in the front row at his graduations with tears in my eyes, clapping harder than anyone else. I trusted him with my heart long before I trusted him with my money. As he grew older, that trust only deepened. He helped me with technology when I couldn't understand it. He managed my online banking because I was afraid of making mistakes. He told me, "Don't worry, Mom. I've got you." And I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was the boy who held my hand when my health started failing. The one who promised I'd never have to go to a nursing home. The one who said, "Everything you have is mine too, and I'll protect it." Those words meant everything to me. When he got married, I welcomed his wife into my life with an open heart. I helped pay for parts of the wedding. I gave gifts I couldn't really afford. I told myself that family grows when you let love in. Even when I noticed changes subtle at first, I ignored them. The phone calls became shorter. The visits became rare. The warmth in his voice slowly faded. Still, I defended him. "He's busy," I told myself. "He has responsibilities now. He'll come back to me." I didn't see the warning signs because I didn't want to. I trusted him blindly. When he suggested I add his name to my bank account just in case something happens, I agreed without hesitation. He said it was for emergencies, for my safety, for peace of mind. I signed the papers with shaking hands, not from fear but from love. I remember smiling that day, thinking how blessed I was to have a son who cared so deeply about me. I had no idea I was signing away more than access. I was signing away my protection. I was proud of the independence I still had. But I leaned on him when things got complicated. I told myself that this was what family was supposed to look like: trust, sacrifice, unity. I didn't realize that while I was giving everything, someone else was learning how easy it was to take. The betrayal didn't come with shouting or arguments. It didn't come with warning or cruelty at first. It came quietly, silently, wrapped in the same love I had given freely for years. And that's the part that hurts the most. Not the money, not the loss, but the realization that the person I trusted more than anyone else in the world was the one who would hurt me the deepest. At the time, I didn't know any of this. I was still the mother who believed love was enough. Still the woman who thought sacrifice guaranteed loyalty. Still blind to the truth forming just beneath the surface. But soon, very soon, everything I believed about my son and about trust would shatter. And the life I thought I had secured for my old age would disappear overnight. The morning started like any other. I woke up early, made myself a cup of tea, and sat by the window like I always did. The sun was gentle that day, the kind that makes you believe nothing bad can happen. I remember thinking how peaceful everything felt, how lucky I was to have raised a son who was now settled, married, and successful. That illusion didn't last long. I picked up my phone to check my bank balance, not because I was worried, just habit. I like to keep track of things. Years of budgeting had trained my fingers to open that app without thinking. The screen loaded slowly, then it refreshed, and my heart stopped. Balance: $0. I stared at the screen, convinced it was a mistake. I closed the app and opened it again. Same number. 0. Not low, not reduced. Gone. Every dollar I had saved over decades gone in one silent moment. My hands began to shake. I felt a strange buzzing in my ears, like the world was pulling away from me. I whispered to myself, "This can't be right." My voice sounded far away, like it didn't belong to me. I refreshed the screen again. Still 0. I scrolled down to the transaction history, my breath shallow, my chest tight. And there it was, multiple withdrawals, transfers, all done online, all approved, all from my account. I didn't need to read the name to know. I already knew who it was. My son. The same son I had added as a joint account holder just in case. The same son I trusted to help me with bills and online banking. The same son who told me, "Mom, don't worry, I'll take care of everything." My tea had gone cold, but I didn't notice. I couldn't feel anything except a deep, sinking heaviness spreading through my body. I tried to breathe, but every breath hurt. I thought of the years behind that number on the screen. The nights I skipped dinners to save money. The vacations I never took. The clothes I wore until they were threadbare. That money wasn't just savings. It was my safety, my dignity, my future. I called the bank immediately. My fingers fumbled as I pressed the buttons. My mind screaming, "Please be a mistake. Please be a mistake." After a long wait, a calm voice answered, too calm for the storm happening inside me. "Yes, ma'am," the representative said after checking. "The transactions were authorized by a joint account holder." Authorized? That word hit harder than any insult ever could. "So, it's gone?" I asked quietly. "Yes, ma'am, the funds have been withdrawn." I thanked her automatically and ended the call. I don't even remember doing it. The room felt smaller now, the walls closer, the silence louder. I sat there for a long time, staring at the floor, replaying every conversation I'd ever had with my son. Every time he reassured me, every time he smiled and said, "Trust me." That's when I remembered his last call. He had sounded excited, distracted. He mentioned a trip, said he needed to handle some things and would call me later. I hadn't thought much of it then. Now it made sense. I opened social media with trembling hands. And there it was. Photos. My son smiling at an airport, his wife beside him, and standing proudly between them his mother-in-law. Captions about making memories, family time, and well-deserved travel. My stomach turned. They weren't just traveling. They were traveling on my life savings. I felt something inside me crack, not loudly, but deeply. A quiet breaking that hurt more than screaming ever could. I didn't cry right away. First came disbelief, then confusion, then shame. I asked myself questions no parent should ever have to ask. Was I that foolish? Did I raise him wrong? How did my own child see me as someone he could steal from? I thought of confronting him immediately. I imagined yelling, demanding answers. But another feeling rose up stronger than anger. Clarity. I realized something important in that moment. He hadn't just taken my money. He had taken my trust, my sense of safety, my belief that blood protects you. And if my own child could do this to me so easily, then crying wouldn't fix it. Sitting there, with an empty account and a heavy heart, I made a silent promise to myself. I would not beg, I would not break, and I would not let this be the end of my story. That zero balance wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of something my son never expected. The first photo appeared on my phone early in the morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the same table where I used to count bills and plan groceries, the same table where I had taught my son how to do homework when he was little. My tea had gone cold, untouched, when the notification popped up. A smiling face, a sunny background, a caption full of excitement. My son, standing beside his wife and her mother, all three of them smiling like life had never been kinder. Behind them was a place I had only ever seen in magazines: blue skies, tall buildings, luxury written into every detail. I stared at the screen, confused at first. Then the truth settled in. This was where my money had gone. Every penny I had saved, every sacrifice I had made, every sleepless night worrying about the future. They were wearing it, eating it, traveling with it. I scrolled slowly, my fingers trembling. Another photo, a hotel lobby with marble floors and golden lights. Another smile, another caption about making memories. Then a picture of food plates I couldn't pronounce. Meals that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. I felt something break inside me. Not loudly, not all at once. It was a quiet kind of pain, the kind that doesn't scream, but sits in your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I wanted to comment. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to scream. How could you do this to me? But I did nothing. I locked my phone and sat there in silence. That same afternoon, I walked to the local store with exact change in my pocket. I counted coins at the counter while the cashier pretended not to notice. Outside, the wind was cold, and I pulled my coat tighter around myself. My phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time, they were at a beach, barefoot, laughing. The caption read, "Living our best life." I wondered what my life looked like from their side of the screen. Did they think about me at all? Did my son remember the nights I stayed up late sewing clothes so he'd have something nice to wear to school? Did he remember how I skipped meals so he could eat more? Did he remember how proud I was when he got married? How I cried because I thought I had raised a good man? I guess not. Because good sons don't drain their parents' bank accounts and smile about it online. That evening, I sat in my dark living room, the lights off to save electricity. I scrolled again, even though I knew it would hurt. A part of me needed to see it to confirm that this betrayal was real. They looked happy, not guilty, not worried, not even aware of the damage they had caused. I noticed something else too. In every photo, my son was smiling, but his eyes looked different, quieter. Like he was trying to convince himself he deserved this happiness. His wife looked carefree. Her mother looked proud. And me? I wasn't in a single thought. That night, I didn't cry. I felt past tears. Instead, I felt invisible. I stopped answering calls from relatives who asked how I was doing. I didn't want to explain. I didn't want pity. I didn't want anyone to tell me, "He's your son. Forgive him." Because forgiveness is easy to suggest when you're not the one left with nothing. Days passed, and the photos continued. Different cities, different outfits, always the same smiles. Meanwhile, I learned how to stretch a loaf of bread for days. I learned which bills could wait and which ones couldn't. I learned how quiet a house can feel when trust leaves it. Late one night, I opened my phone again. I hovered over my son's profile. For a moment, I almost sent a message. "Are you happy? Was it worth it? Do you remember me?" But I didn't send anything, because I finally understood something important. They were enjoying the reward of my silence, and I was done being silent. Watching their vacation while I struggled didn't just hurt me, it changed me. It showed me exactly who they were, and more importantly, it showed me who I could no longer be. I closed the app. I put the phone face down on the table, and for the first time since my bank balance hit zero, I felt something new rising inside me. Not sadness, not anger, resolve. They thought the story ended with their trip. They had no idea. It was only just beginning. I don't remember exactly when the crying stopped. I just know there was a moment, quiet, heavy, almost uncomfortable, when the tears dried on my face. And something inside me shifted. Not peace, not forgiveness, clarity. I was sitting alone in my small living room, the same room where I had raised my son, the same couch where he used to fall asleep on my lap as a child. The house felt too big now, too empty, like it was echoing all the choices I had made wrong. My phone was in my hand. I hadn't checked social media in days. Every time I did, it felt like reopening a wound. Smiling vacation photos, beach sunsets, fancy dinners, my son, his wife, and her mother posing like life had handed them everything effortlessly. What hurt the most wasn't the money. It was the ease. The way they were enjoying themselves while I was counting coins for groceries. The way my son smiled into the camera, knowing whether he admitted it or not that his comfort had come from my sacrifice. I was still staring at the phone when it rang. An unknown number. For a second, I thought about letting it go to voicemail. I was tired of talking, tired of explaining my pain to people who either pitied me or didn't truly listen. But something told me to answer. "Hello?" There was a pause, then a voice I hadn't heard in years. "Is this Mrs. Harris?" "Yes, this is Daniel. We worked together at the accounting office years ago." I sat up straighter. Daniel, an old colleague, someone who had always been calm, observant, someone who noticed details others missed. "We haven't spoken in a long time," he continued gently. "I hope I'm not calling at a bad time." "No," I said. "It's fine." He hesitated, then said something that made my heart stop. "I saw the transactions." My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean?" I asked. Daniel explained that he now worked in financial compliance. One of the banks he consulted for had flagged unusual activity, large transfers, repeated withdrawals, changes made without in-person verification. My account. At first, I felt embarrassed, ashamed, like my private pain had become public. But Daniel's voice wasn't judgmental. It was serious. "Did you authorize all of it?" he asked. I swallowed. I trusted my son. There was silence on the line, not awkward, but heavy with understanding. That's what I was afraid of, he said. For the first time since everything happened, someone didn't rush to excuse my son's behavior. Didn't say he probably meant well. Didn't tell me family makes mistakes. Instead, Daniel said, what happened to you isn't just betrayal. It may be illegal. Illegal. The word echoed in my mind. I had spent weeks blaming myself, telling myself I was foolish, weak, too trusting. I had convinced myself that because he was my child, I had no right to be angry, no right to protect myself. But suddenly, the story shifted. Daniel explained my options slowly, carefully. Account audits, transaction trails, legal boundaries even within families, especially within families. You don't have to destroy him, he said, but you also don't have to destroy yourself to protect him. That sentence broke something open inside me. For so long, I had believed love meant silence, that being a good mother meant absorbing pain quietly, that speaking up would make me cruel. But what if love didn't mean allowing yourself to be erased? After we hung up, I didn't cry. I walked into my bedroom and opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Inside were old documents, bank papers, authorization forms, notes I had scribbled when I added my son's name to my account. I read them differently now, not with guilt but with awareness. That night, I made a list, not of revenge, not of anger, of steps. I changed passwords. I froze accounts. I scheduled meetings. I wrote dates and amounts calmly, clearly. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was planning. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, made myself tea, sat at the table where my son once did his homework. I looked around the house and felt something unfamiliar. Strength. I wasn't the helpless woman crying on the couch anymore. I was still hurt, still heartbroken, but I was no longer lost. The call hadn't given me money back. It hadn't fixed the betrayal. It hadn't magically healed the mother in me. But it gave me something more important, my power. And from that moment on, everything I did, every step I took was no longer about crying over what I lost. It was about deciding what I would no longer allow. Revenge doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like silence, like patience, like a calm decision made after the tears have finally dried. For weeks after the call, I didn't confront my son. I didn't demand explanations. I didn't post quotes online or call relatives to shame him. I did something far more dangerous. I replayed every moment of our relationship, every sacrifice I made without question, every time I chose his needs over my own comfort. I remembered how I trusted him with my bank access because I believed family meant safety. That trust was gone now, but my dignity wasn't. I realized something powerful during those quiet nights. They thought I was weak because I was kind. They thought I was finished because I was quiet. They confused my silence for surrender. They were wrong. I started by gathering information. Calmly. Methodically. I printed bank statements. I highlighted transactions, hotels, flights, shopping expenses, all paid with my money, not borrowed, not gifted, taken. I contacted the bank not with emotion, but with clarity. I asked questions. I learned my rights. I changed passwords, froze access, removed permissions. Every click felt like taking back a piece of myself. Next, I called a lawyer. My hands didn't shake this time. I explained everything slowly, clearly. The lawyer listened, nodded, and said words I'll never forget. You have options. Options. A word my son never expected me to hear. I learned that what he did wasn't just betrayal, it was unlawful. Trust abuse. Financial exploitation. Especially considering my age and dependence on that account for daily life. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. But something inside me stood up straight for the first time in months. While they posted vacation photos, sunsets, beach dinners, laughter, I was building something invisible but solid. A paper trail, a case, a boundary. I didn't message them. I let them enjoy their illusion of victory. The first sign that things were changing came quietly. My son called. I let it ring. Then again. I answered on the third call, not cold, not warm, just steady. Mom, he said, cheerful, careless. Hey, small issue. My card isn't working. I paused. Oh, I said softly. That's strange. Silence on the other end. I froze all access to my accounts. I continued. You shouldn't be using them anyway. His tone shifted instantly. Confusion, then irritation, then panic. Why would you do that? He snapped. You know we're traveling. I took a breath. And you knew I needed that money to live, I replied. No yelling, no insults, just truth. He tried to explain, tried to minimize, tried to blame circumstances, his wife, bad timing, emergencies. I listened without interrupting. Then I said the sentence that ended everything. I've spoken to a lawyer. The line went quiet, that silence. It was louder than any apology he never gave. I didn't threaten him. I didn't demand repayment in anger. I told him calmly what would happen next. The steps, the timeline, the expectations, consequences. Not revenge fueled by hate, but justice fueled by self-respect. The vacation ended early. Photos stopped appearing. Calls came more frequently, this time softer, careful, afraid. For the first time, he didn't have control. And you know what surprised me most? I didn't feel joy. I felt peace. Because revenge wasn't hurting him, it was saving me. I used the remaining strength I had to secure my future. I separated finances, updated my will, drew boundaries I should have drawn years ago. When people asked why I didn't scream or curse or publicly shame him, my answer was simple. Because consequences speak louder than anger. I loved my son once without limits. Now I loved myself enough to stop being used. And that was the revenge they never saw coming. Not drama, not destruction, just a woman who finally chose herself. I used to believe that the worst thing my son took from me was money. The savings I built over decades. The emergency fund I never touched. The account I trusted him with because I thought love was stronger than temptation. But I was wrong. Money was the smallest thing he took. What he really lost that day and what he will never fully get back was something far more valuable. Trust. When everything finally came out, when the bank statements were undeniable and the excuses ran dry, there was silence. Not the dramatic kind. Not yelling or crying. Just quiet. My son sat across from me, eyes lowered, hands clenched together like a child who knew he had crossed a line he couldn't uncross. His wife wasn't there. Neither was her mother. Suddenly, he was alone, and for the first time, I didn't rush to protect him from that feeling. I didn't think you'd find out like this, he said. That sentence told me everything. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just that he thought he'd gotten away with it longer. I realized then that the lesson he needed was not punishment. It was consequence. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't remind him of the nights I worked late or the meals I skipped so he could have more. I didn't list the sacrifices. I had already done that silently for years. Instead, I told him something simple. You chose this path. Now you walk it without me fixing it. He laughed nervously at first, thinking I was bluffing. I wasn't. I closed the joint accounts permanently. I removed my name from anything tied to him financially. I canceled the safety net he had always assumed would be there. No more emergency calls answered with my credit card. No more just this once transfers. No more quiet rescues. When he asked what he was supposed to do, I answered honestly, figure it out the way adults do. That's when fear finally replaced entitlement. Life changed for him quickly after that. Trips stopped. Photos disappeared. Luxury turned into budgeting. And something else happened too. The people who benefited from his betrayal disappeared when the comfort ran out. His wife complained. Her mother blamed him. And for the first time, he understood what it felt like to be used. He came back months later, thinner, quieter, different. Not broken but humbled. I didn't realize how much you were holding everything together, he said. That was the moment I knew the lesson had landed. Because betrayal doesn't just cost money. It costs security. It costs peace. It costs relationships that once felt unbreakable. I forgave him not because he deserved it, but because carrying anger was costing me more than it cost him. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean restoring access. It doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means choosing peace over bitterness. I still love my son. That will never change. But love now has boundaries, strong ones. And he knows that the trust he broke will take a lifetime to rebuild if it ever fully does. The greatest lesson he learned wasn't about banks or money or consequences. It was this. The moment you betray the person who gave you everything, you lose the right to expect anything. And that is a lesson no amount of money could ever teach.